Good morning, dear friends, friends in the Dharma. Fellow journeyers in consciousness. Mercedes Sosa. Gracias a la vida. Looking for the date. What day is it? It's March the 24th, 2022. Well, we woke up again. Woke up from sleep again. And we come through the incipient daylight here in Portland, Oregon. I love my little commute from the house. I don't know how many paces it is, but I always slow down, or almost always slow down, and enjoy the feeling of the gravel under my feet. All right, I forgot to do something. Click this, click this.
Recording in progress.
There. Oh, I should have to change this plug too. Jim, could you give me a sound check?
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good thing we're doing it because I don't have sound from you. Let me see here. All right, try this. Off, on. Try again, please.
Testing again, 1,
Okay.
2, 3.
I just have to turn that switch off and then on. For some reason, it works that way. All right. Well, I have a reading for the morning. It's a very traditional reading from a few hundred years after the Buddha. South India, I think. Shantideva. All mistakes that are, all the various kinds of evil, arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. These conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything, and neither does their product have the intention to be produced. Hence, everything is governed by other factors, which in turn are governed by others. In this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like apparitions. All mistakes that are, all the various kinds of evil arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. These conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything, and neither does their product have the intention to be produced. Hence, everything is governed by other factors, which in turn are governed by others. In this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like apparitions. I paused underneath the 100-year-old or 80-year-old Douglas fir tree in my backyard. I'd taken about 10 steps along the path. I looked over to the right and then further to the right and out toward the street. And that's where the dogwood tree is and where the bones of my dog Budo are. And in that moment, there were memories of a little white dog who came out with me here hundreds of times. He would never come directly to the door. He always had to go behind the little house and check for something. And there were memories, all of this in a moment, in a trice. There was a memory of him running in the forest. He loved the forest. He was a wild dog in the forest. And there was the memory of him being born on my bed and helping him get free of that little package he came in. And another memory of him running away. He was a runner, and he ran at Smith Rocks in Oregon. He took off one day. Oh, and it was very frustrating and frightening. And all this happened in how long? A tenth of a second. And then the thought came, Budo was an apparition. He appeared. He appeared and was my sidekick for a long time, or no time at all. When I left on trips, or even for the day, if I left him home, which was unusual, when I came home, he was in one place on the back of the couch looking for me. Jennifer told me when I went teaching, I could be gone 10 days and he would never go to the bedroom during that time. He always sat on top of the couch, always looking for me. And the mind could do lots of things with that. I could get melancholic, or on the other hand, Budo was an apparition. He was never solid, or he was never a noun, really. He was always a verb. And so let us sit with the apparition of this moment, this body, this collection of human beings on our screens. There's never going to be a better moment than this for waking up. This is it right now. And so, as the Buddha suggested, we go to a quiet place. A place where we're safe, where we can turn inward, where we can let down our hypervigilance, perhaps, where we can let down our striving to get somewhere, to improve something. Here. This is the moment of the apparition. And this body faithfully breathes. It breathes in and breathes out. This breath right now appears out of nowhere. The breathing occurs in a context, the context of the body, the living body. And the body includes, of course, the torso where breathing happens, but it also exists as solar plexus and the pelvis and sacrum. All the life of the pelvis, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the feet and the toes. It includes this living body, the back, the shoulders and the arms, the forearms and the fingers and the thumbs and the hands. The body includes the neck, the front and the sides and the back, the jaw, the cheeks, the lips, the nose, the eyes and the forehead and the scalp, and the ears. Mindful of the entire breath body, the entire breathing body. Remembering to be present here, now. There is awareness, and there is the body, and it breathes. There may be thoughts. There might be restlessness and agitation. There might be worrying, planning. Sometimes there's obsession concerning the thoughts of self-worth. Do I matter? Am I doing well enough? Old habits. Trying to figure out some social problem, some personal problem. We don't have to do much with these. We just let them exist. They do exist, briefly. Sometimes the mind will get involved in trying to figure something out. It's all just wandering mind. There's nothing to figure out. The breath breathes itself. The thoughts think themselves. The sun comes up. Apparitions come and go. Each breath magically appears. Comes into being and then vanishes. There may be any number of apparitions. There could be desire, wanting, craving. I want something different. I want more pleasure. I want to be more concentrated. I want. Or there could be the other direction, which is I don't want, disliking the mind striking against the object of experience, aversion, hatred. There could be restlessness and agitation. There could be sleepy dullness and sloth and torpor. There could be doubt. There could be sadness or joy or depression, elation. What is happening right now is the question. Now, this moment. What is the reality of this moment? in the midst of a lifetime of momentary apparitions. Somehow, mysteriously, we set our course to being here now. To be present as the world is born momentarily. In this instance, as the breath, as the body, the breath body breathing. As these words appearing somehow in consciousness. The following body contemplation is from Matt Flickstein. Be present with the breath as it comes and goes. As the breath rises in the chest and abdomen and comes, it goes at the nostrils, at the nose tip. As you hear these following questions, please Stay present with your own direct experience rather than going by what the mind says. As you sit here with your eyes closed, do you actually have any boundaries? Can you determine how tall you are? Do you have a surface where you stop and the rest of the world begins? Are you a man or a woman or something else? Do you have a particular skin color? Without physically moving any of your body parts, can you actually locate any toes, arms, legs, or even a head? Do you actually have any shape at all? Is there right now any limit to your being? Isn't your present experience that you go on and on in every direction? Isn't it purely your imagination that creates the boundary called the body? Are you not really infinite space? Into this infinite space, constantly arising and passing away, is a great succession of thoughts and images regarding how you look and who you believe yourself to be. These thoughts and images are born, flourish, and die. Does the space within which they arise and pass away die as well? Do you need any specific physical or psychological identity to be yourself? How does it feel to let all those imagined body and personality images go? How does it feel to let go of identification with self-hatred, self-appreciation, self? Does it seem like you've come to a strange, dangerous, and horrible place where you do not belong? Or do you feel that you've dropped many burdens, falling like leaves from a tree with complete ease and readiness? This is your homecoming. You are not a body. You are not a cork in the stream of life. You are the stream of life itself. Allowing bare attention to be present with this breath, with this thought. Noticing the apparitions of life. Years, people, pets, wars, sickness, health, relationships. Friends. All have the characteristic of coming and going. Apparitions. And noticing now the apparent boundariedness of the body. Notice the aliveness of what we call the hands. And now bringing awareness into what we call the face. Ram Dass used to say that he'd wake up in the morning and before he got out of bed, he'd remember to put on his somebody suit. So notice as we come out of meditation and we put on our somebody suit. Yes, the somebody suit. But we can wear our somebody suit lightly. We can realize, oh, well, I'm in my costume. And bringing awareness into the eyes. And then noticing the effort that's required to open the eyes, let them open. And then there's seeing. And the seeing might be very clear and crisp or blurry or maybe non-existent, depending upon your particular conditions. Seeing. As this process was emerging, and it was speaking about putting on the somebody suit. There was a vivid memory of a time a long time ago, 45 years ago. I was at a place called Still Point Institute, where people came and did month-long meditation retreats with Sujata, who I learned later, very narcissistically personality disordered teacher and guru, from whom I learned a lot of things not to do as well. But in this memory this morning, I remembered a particular moment when, I'm not sure why or how it came about, but I took a hit of acid one morning and had the day off. And I remember lying on the ground looking into the fish pond, which was only about 1.5 feet deep. And there were minnows. And I had this contemplation came through. It's like, I am like the Greek gods. I look down. They don't even know they're in there. And I know they're there. And then I went in the house. And it was so utterly clear that my friends were having really a hallucination. They thought they were their personalities. And I tried to tell them, you guys, stop worrying about, this is ridiculous how uptight you are. And they, of course, pushed me away and said, go, you're tripping, get out of here. How interesting. I just remembered also, I went down to the park at the corner of the street, and there was a dog show. And I saw that people and their dogs looked the same. People looked like their dogs. It was quite something. So why am I saying this? It's just that it was a momentary memory. But these somebody suits are very convincing, aren't they? And so we learn to practice and we attend to the 4 foundations of mindfulness: the body, feelings, mental formations, and all the phenomena. And now I have a moment for some marketing. On Saturday, the 2nd of April, Kendall Summers will be teaching for 5 hours from 9 to 2. In these 5 hours, we'll look at how to handle emotional difficulties in the practice, and where to notice joy, ease, and how to nurture calm. There will be sitting, walking, movement, and discussion with a lunch break at 11:30. You're welcome to come. Use the sliding scale option by checking the scholarship box for the amount that suits your needs. Imagine the opportunity to be with Kendall Summers. Kendall, who's spent 40-some years herself practicing this Dharma. And she trained with Kamala Masters and Steve Armstrong forever, like decades. So That'd be a nice thing to do on the 2nd of April. On the 3rd of April, the center will welcome you at 10 o'clock. This Saturday, 2 days from now, the center will welcome you if you want to come and bask in the beautiful newness and help dust and do a few other things that need doing. We'll start the morning with a 20-minute sitting, and I will read the founding document of PIMC, which is a little prose piece by Mr. Rogers about love. And all the other announcements are in place. They're all repeating and going on. So I will not talk about them this morning. Enough. So what about you, my friends? What are you discovering? How are you? I guess I want to say this once again. Probably can't say it too often. The announcements I can say too often, but this I don't think I can. There is no requirement to speak. If you'd like to, great. If you find it really easy to speak, then be cautious. Be sure to leave room for people for whom it's a challenge to speak. If there's a part of you that would like to speak, but there's another part of you saying, "Don't you dare! We'll get in trouble, or you can't say it right," or however that goes. When the moment comes, if the moment comes to leap over that hurdle, then leap over. Even if it's just to say, "It's terrifying to speak here," that's a great thing to share. And this isn't about being erudite and brilliant. It's about being honest and intimate with one another. Having a place to share where we're struggling too. God knows there's enough struggling in a human life. So, now, I will be quiet. I have spoken. Ho Mitakuyasin.
Good morning, Robert and Sangha.
Hello, Sandra.
Hello. I wanted to share a little bit about the benefit of having a Dharma friend. So last week I was quite distressed and couldn't really remember any of the teachings that would be helpful. It's like vaporized. And so I phoned the Dharma friend, and he gave me the advice of doing a body scan, relax, and find the positive in what was going on. And it was so helpful. Because, now today I'm not distressed, and I hear your teaching, like, oh yeah, that all makes sense. Of course, no problem. But I certainly couldn't have heard it and thought it was no problem last week when I was distressed. So I think that really is a fine remedy, to have somebody to phone and say, hey, how does the Dharma apply? Can you give me some tips? I've kind of forgotten right now.
Buddha, Dharma, and what's that third one? The third one.
Yeah.
Sangha. I can't. Oh yeah, it's Sangha. Right. Community.
And I can imagine, this weekend when people get together at the center, to do the karma yoga, that'll be a great opportunity to meet some Dharma friends.
Yep.
Very good. I think the Canadian contingency will have to do a little road trip sometime, maybe this summer, to come and.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, meet people face to face.
That'd be really great. We could create an event.
Yeah, let's do that.
A potluck and the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay, we'll do it.
Bring instruments.
Okay, drums.
Drum? Why not? We can drum in the backyard or wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that. Okay.
There is a drum. My old conga drum is there at PIMC, so we could get down.
Okay, right on.
We could have a party, eh? Oh dear. You're not supposed to laugh at your own jokes. It's bad form. Oh, there's no self here. It's okay.
Robert, this is Had.
Hello, Had.
Hi, I want to invite anyone who's listening to bring any, we call them books, these books which have ideas written in them, to donate to the Barking Dog Library this Saturday if they happen to have a book they're done with or want to share with someone. Or maybe you just want to clear up their life and get it out of their life, go ahead and bring it and donate it to the Barking Dog Library.
One thing you said years ago, Had, that I always think of about the Barking Dog Library, and I took it to heart, which is donate your books to the library and you'll always know where they are. Thank you, though. I have at least 25 or 30 books I've been threatening to bring in, so I'll do it.
Oh. Look forward to that.
My shelves will be happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Sangha. Hi, everybody. It's Birch.
Hey, Birch.
Robert, I wonder if you could Uh, speak to mindfulness of roles.
Ooh.
I was thinking how so often in the conditioned state, the role can influence strongly consciousness. So you can imagine a monk having such a defined role,
Yeah.
impacts their consciousness. But in our world, so many of the roles we play determine reaction response. How can our practice evolve through the attention on role and its temporary release or change?
It seems to me in this moment it's funny, there's several thoughts bashing against each other in here, competing. There's a little song going around in my mind that maybe if I sing it, I can get past it. It's the story of my life. Little Johnny, one note, couldn't sing but one note, sang it all day long. Now I feel sad or something. Not sad. I only have one song, really. And I have Ruth to thank for that. And that is, let us practice deeply enough. Let us become so capable, so inspired, so drawn to the present moment that we actually have the experience, that we become the experience that we are the river of life and not a cork bobbing in it. And that when the personality is seen as a costume that we pull on, that fundamental role of I am this, I am that, becomes transparent, even if just for a nanosecond, for a moment. And that then, with a little help, we can then, it's possible to see our other roles. Because we see the fundamental delusion is that I am the role of Robert Beatty, that I am the role of this self. And it's like in order to know the reality of thoughts, I quote, I must know the reality of no thoughts, and to then observe the arising of thoughts being something that they do themselves rather than something that I do. And so the roles that we play in life, many or most of them, I guess, certainly as we set out, they're all unconscious. We don't know we're playing a role. But then maybe we get a glimpse of what a role is because there's enough awareness to illuminate them. And then we can make good use of them, I guess. Does that making any sense to you?
Yes, it is, in the sense of even the roles are part of the river on some level, even though they're enculturated in concepts. But I think part of what spurned the thought was the comment you made at the beginning about always a verb.
Yeah.
And then the roles aren't fixed, and roles themselves are fluid and never changing over time and period, and yet some of them feel fixed, like mother, daughter.
Right.
Some of them are culture, right? So how to be in the role, like move freely in the harness of any given role, or perception that the role is being enacted.
And to there's some roles, well, maybe all. Some roles come with significant responsibilities. It's like I'm willing to play this role, and there was something else that came to mind on the way there. Years ago, when doing forgiveness meditation, I don't know where it came from, I started being very careful to say, let's say when we're doing a forgiveness practice with the person through whose body one came to have a body. And we would call that person mother. And it's a funny thing. One of the first sounds a baby can make is ma, 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 and then pa, pa. And so in most languages of the world, the word for mother is ma, ma. It's like, oh, good, if that baby recognizes me, it's just the first sound they can make. But anyway, I started saying this. This is the person who in this lifetime played the role of my mother. Or this is the person who in this lifetime played the role of father. Or this is the person who in this lifetime played the role of perpetrator. Or the role of victim. And so there's this movement toward seeing it as Dharma's unfolding, as opposed to this person. And that's remarkably liberating, of course. Now that was a big leap there. I hope that wasn't too much.
It's helpful in the sense that roles are in conversation with each other too.
Yeah.
And that inside the playing experiences, there's all the thoughts, sensations, feelings, all of it rolling around and co-creating itself seemingly. I just thought putting attention onto the role in itself creates a relationship rather than an identity. And it does seem that, especially in our world today, identity, the focus on identity, a form of living, but also in a paradox, its own constriction and stuckness.
One of the concerns that I have is the proliferation of identities and the demand that I be perceived as my chosen identity, which is a marvelous stage, but if we get stuck there, we're caught again. So it's interesting,
especially
isn't
when
it?
those identities are commodified or can be controlled. That place of something that is fixed and fluid. And the sense that the Dharma really has the quality or nature of flow.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And that no identity is true, except as a gerund. Is it a gerund or a verb? They're all fluid. I have this identity, and then it changes, and then in the end, the whole thing dissolves.
Which can bring some enthusiasm even around suffering in one sense, even though, because we know suffering's ever evolving and in its own flow, that even when things are happening that are painful or seemingly impossible, that when our attention to it, which creates a relationship, brings flow to it. So I'm just sensing how this practice is culture changing in that sense.
Yeah.
That we're ever evolving into a flow state, if you will. And that this practice is, in fact, in action, in its verb, shifting consciousness and therefore planet. Anyways, thank you. It was a lovely meditation this morning. Really inspired.
This practice is the revolutionary practice.
Hi.
It's Joy.
Hi. In response to the question of roles, this really struck me when I moved from being a worker into retirement. And I was a productive member of a respectful workplace. And then I was afraid. I thought, I'm just going to be another little old lady. What will that mean for who I am? But it's been fine, because the things I was afraid of, like losing a sense of belonging, is possible to find in all kinds of places. And with volunteer work, you can also have a sense of being productive. But it was an interesting transition from one role that's really valued in our culture, making money and being productive,
right,
into something else, because I'm not sure, but do we have the value of the elders, what they can contribute? Maybe there is an awareness of that, but I'm not. I don't feel that. So, but the older people are, sometimes you feel like maybe they're a drag on the healthcare system, or
right, right.
Or there's some resentment towards aging baby boomers because of
right.
They stole all the resources. But I think we are constantly interpreted in our culture according to our role.
Well, there isn't really a lot of built-in respect for elders in our culture. You know, that I had an elder experience. I went to Standing Rock back several years ago, just at the very end when I was there the day that it crumbled, when the weather changed and the crisis set upon us. And but anyway, it was so interesting. I'd get there and it was cold. It was really cold. And there were tents that were warm and there was food in the tents. And I would get in line outside, and the line would sometimes, you'd have to wait for half an hour or 40 minutes to get in. And some young whippersnapper would come to me with my gray hair and say, "Please come, you're an elder," and take me inside. It was like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to. So
it's unsettling when we were raised in a youth culture.
Yeah.
A really predominant demographic.
Yep.
But anyway, I was so aware of a transition in roles at that time. But maybe it was, I don't know, just a fluid impermanence.
You know, I just remembered another thing, which was for several years I went to the men's conferences with Robert Bly and Michael Mead and James Hillman. How funny I feel. Brings on tears. And I wasn't among them. But all the men over 55, I think it was 55, maybe it was 60, sat in the front, facing out, facing the group. That was interesting. Forgot about that. Huh. Maybe we'll do something a bit like that at PIMC. Be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Robert, what was the idea of facing out?
That at the front was Robert Bly, Michael Mead, James Hillman, and maybe one or two of the other leaders, and then sitting with them facing the main group were the elders. The elders were positioned such that we could see them and they could see us.
And they were witnessing what was going on.
Yeah. And honored.
When I first started teaching Tai Chi at the Native American Center, we scheduled it right before lunch. Lunch was for the elders. The time for the elders to have lunch was preceded by Tai Chi, and then when I would join them with lunch, the high school kids would be finishing up, and there would be some stragglers that would be in the line, and as soon as they saw the elders come out of the Tai Chi room, they just stand aside and let us go through. And it was such a shock to me that their first impulse as teenagers was to make space for the elders to come through. It was not like how I was raised at all. So,
interesting. Oh, this
quite
is
a gift. Suddenly realized that I was a witness, for their lives beginning, and I was a witness for the other elders in the Tai Chi group who were constantly working with their own life review and sharing ideas, and so there was a lot of witnessing going on. Where did I come from? How did I get here?
Good morning, Sangha. Good morning, Robert. It's David here.
Hello, David.
We're talking about elders. When I drive on Vancouver Island, which is new to me, I've lived mostly in the Lower Mainland. I've been on Salt Spring for a few years, but I don't know the islands as well. But there's when I'm going up island in the Cowichan area, there's a gas station grocery store that's on First Nation land. And what I think is so beautiful is out in front of the gas station, for the parking spots that normally we would have indicated as being for handicap, they have indicated as for elders. And I think that's such an element of kindness and respect to acknowledge the benefits that people bring to the society they exist in. I just think that's such a beautiful idea. And every time I go past the station, I'm always struck by how beautiful that is. So I thought I would share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, there's also another aspect of witnessing, and is when the elders also form a circle around younger generation to create that swaddling, that cultural swaddling. I remember turning 40 at a Radical Fairy gathering, and anybody who was 40 was asked to step on the outside. And I remember weeping, just bawling my eyes out of being given the opportunity of thresholding, but also the loss, the grieving, the youthfulness, but then stepping in a circle of people who have had more experience, and the wisdom making of joining our experience together, and then really honoring younger folks who are in their own trajectory was equally as powerful. So in a way that for elders to support other generations is to collectively honor themselves in turn by honoring other generations. It's this mutual witnessing that I think has its own dharmic function and flow to it.
I'm finding this to be a fascinating conversation. Birch, thank you for bringing it up. And I've been really interested in the trajectory of this conversation, because we started with talking about roles and about, I felt like we were kind of talking about trying to shed or or come to grips with not having roles. And then we had part of the conversation was about some concerns about when people construct their own identity after having had a social construct pressed upon them that didn't feel comfortable. And so then they come to an identity. And then we came to talk about elders with such a sense of wanting to honor that role. So I'm just kind of, I don't know exactly what I'm saying. I'm just a little confused, and would love to hear you, Robert, just talk a little bit about, is elder another role or another attempt to have a social self that we can feel comfortable with? What do you think?
This is an odd role, because, and it's very important that I not take him too seriously, because he could get inflated, he can do all kinds of things. But it is a role that I honor, and I've gotten much better at it than I used to be. However, all that put aside, a little biblical reference. The task is to be in the world, but not of it. So can we honor the roles that we are in and make use of them and recognize that they're an apparition, they're part of the dream, meaning it could be really cool to have some honoring of elders at PIMC. We could really do something very nice. But it wouldn't be better than or less than. It would be honoring the roles. So I think, and again, little Johnny, one note, I will always be an advocate for wake up and see all of the roles as empty. That none of them are real. They're temporary. So that's my blithering at that idea.
Yes, just to comment, I was thinking about your role the other day, Robert, because I realized that what rose up in me was a desire for your approval, and that was interesting. So.
Right. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I wonder if that happens a lot, that people want things from you.
Of course. I'm the dad.
But we're almost the same age, so how do you get...
It's an archetypal, it's a dynamic that happens, and
yeah, so I'm thinking, I'm maybe striving and craving for your approval, and then I decided to just kind of try and detach from that, because it's
or we can make good use of it. About for 10 years, I really wanted Joseph Goldstein's approval. And we'd meet every now and then, and I'd get so anxious around him. I wanted his approval. And then for 10 years, I wanted Jack Kornfield's approval. And I would see Jack every now and then, and he'd be so busy with other people, and I'd be kind of clamoring, please notice me. And I feel so anxious around him. And he noticed, of course. And about 10 years ago or so, I wrote a letter to him, thanking him. Thank you for being such a fine father surrogate for me. And as you know, I've been very anxious around you, and I've really wanted your admiration. Oh, and I should say, hang on. On the back of the book, Jack Kornfield commented, an elegant and straightforward exposition of Buddhist teachings and the path to embody them. Jack approved of me. And I also told him, and this was a really important moment for me, thank you for providing a place for me to project this stuff. And I'm graduating, and I'm most grateful to you. P.S. No reply necessary. Because I wasn't in that so subtly and in a subtle way looking for his approval. However, he played a marvelous, important role for me. And anyone in a position like mine, I am the well, should I say this? Yes, I'm the PIMC lightning rod. And I can tell you another brief story that there's a fair number of people who have left PIMC really angry with me. And sometimes it's not even something I did. It's just who I happen to be, the role I'm in. But there was a time when a young fellow came along and I was helping him a lot, really, in his practice. And I was thinking he was going to be a teacher. And then something happened and he turned on me. And he turned on me in a very public way. And it was very painful. And really painful. And I called Matt Flickstein. And I said, I was feeling sorry for myself, poor me. And, I described this fellow came along and I really put a lot of time and energy into him. And I had these hopes and so on. And then he turned on me and Matt said, so Robert, you're the founder of an urban Dharma center. And you don't have psychological testing or anything for people who join the center. Anyone can join. And sometimes something happens and you get sort of close to somebody and then they turn on you and then they attack you, sometimes publicly. And I said, yeah, it's not right. And he said, Robert, it's in the job description. That's part of the role. So, and his gentle comment was, grow up. It doesn't matter. It's just something that happens in that role. And there's other very beautiful things that happen in this role. I mean, fundamental among them is the fact that I get to talk about the Dharma all the time. Now, that's pretty grand. That's a huge benefit. So, and in the, how do I say this? In making use of the role, I think you're fantastic, Joy.
Oh, thanks.
I always love the down-to-earth, straightforward, clear, vulnerable sharing that you do. I'm always delighted.
Well, I probably won't turn on you, but I might become very needy.
Oh. Well, I get pretty needy. I have pretty good boundaries now too. That I can sometimes say I can't do more. Right. But being needy is part of who we are sometimes.
Right.
And
well, I don't live near you, so I won't move in. So.
I see. Jennifer doesn't let people move in anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Oh, thank you for the daily meditations. It's getting to be 8:30, so I'm just going to have breakfast. But Thank you very much, all.
Yeah. All right, my friends, I need to go too. Thank you for being here. It is a profound privilege to play this role. It is really a privilege to play this role. And yeah. I think this morning I'd like to do something really different, which is simply to bow to each other 3 times. The Hindus say namaste, which I've heard to be translated as, I bow to that, the shorthand is, I bow to the Godhead within you. I bow to that within you which is us. Bye-bye. Till soon. Goodbye, friends on Facebook.